This episode is a reproduction of the entire episode of Connecting Communities, the Broadening of Connect4Life, which was produced by AMI for the program Reflections and was originally broadcast on AMI Audio on April 2, 2026. This audio documentary shares the story of the growth of Connect4Life and features interviews with Mr. Tapp of Connect4Life South Africa, President and CEO Melanie Taddeo from Connect4Life Head Office, and Steven Christianson of Connect4Life in Scarborough.
I was in my fourth year university studying visual art, and I just secured the most amazing summer job teaching art at a day camp. And I was driving home one day, it was a hot summer day, to go and coach my sister's soccer practice. And I was on the 401 highway, which is lovingly referred to as the parking lot during rush hour. And as I was there, I had a migraine come on. That wasn't something unusual. But what happened was I lost eyesight in my left eye in the middle of the 401 highway. Just like that. Blink of an eye. Somehow I got to the side of the road, and honestly, I sat there and I prayed.
There are many ways to finding your community. Sometimes community is there for you to just jump into through shared interest and proximity, like school or your neighborhood gym. Other communities are thoughtfully and carefully put together by connective, passionate people. The strength of these communities can expand over years and beyond borders. In this episode, we are going to get to know about Connect4Life, a small and mighty community that grows and grows through the people nourishing it. I'm Jacob Chamansky. This is Reflections. Today's episode is titled Connecting Communities, the Broadening of Connect4Life as they venture abroad, brought to us by Kelly McDonald.
When I was a reporter for AMI TV, I went to Connect4Life to check out the broadcast training course. I was envious. If I'd had that opportunity to learn about broadcasting from an accessible course designed to help people in the disability community like myself, I would have loved to have done it. So I got to meet some of the teachers, the students, and of course the founder, Melanie Taddeo, who you met off the top. Before we hear from Melanie, check out this excerpt from her book, Losing Sight, Gaining Vision.
Chapter 1. My dream has always been to be a teacher. I was a little girl who would set up her dolls and stuffed animals on the bed facing the front of the classroom. I would pretend I was teaching them about reading, listening to others, and being a good person. As I grew up, everything I did was focused on that dream. My dream was inspired by two of my own public school teachers, Mrs. Belford and Mrs. Shemansky. These ladies helped me recognize the talents I had, including a special way of invigorating people to do their best. But when the stroke happened, it was as if my dream had been railroaded. It had to be pushed aside because there were more important things to deal with, of course. I needed that time to heal, first and foremost, rediscover myself and redefine what was or could be next for me.
Melanie Taddeo, President and CEO of Connect4Life. What happened was I lost eyesight in my left eye in the middle of the 401 highway. That was the beginning of the journey that left me completely paralyzed on the left side and also legally blind. And after coming out of a coma, I had to learn to adapt my life to a new way of being and navigating my world as a blind woman. I wanted to still achieve my dreams and goals, but I faced many barriers that many people with various disabilities encounter, such as people's myths and misconceptions and assumptions, as well as the lack of employment opportunities.
I graduated at the top of my class as the first legally blind teacher in Ontario. But then, no one would hire me because of my disability. I was heartbroken and wanted to give up. I was faced with a choice to resign myself to what appeared to be my fate or hold my head up high and resolve to fight. I realized that I needed to reframe my dream. Perhaps the typical teaching role wasn't going to work for me, but I could still utilize my skills to help others. In February 2014, I started the charity called Connect4Life and a radio station, Voices for Ability, to ensure that people with disabilities would have access to education and training to help them maintain their independence and achieve their goals.
It stands to reason, in my mind, that so many of the issues in the disability world would be similar, no matter where you are in our vast world. Tell us about Connect4Life.
Connect4Life started 12 years ago after I identified a need for skills development training, hands-on training for individuals with various disabilities. We offer various programs, including life skills training, radio broadcasting and podcasting, and accessible voice and broadcasting, our Connect for Wellness program, and we are expanding. We have our introduction to public speaking, digital literacy, entrepreneurship, as well as hospitality. This is an exciting year. We've built a lot of different partnerships, and our goal is to open 2 skills development training hubs, one in Mississauga and one in Scarborough, where we can run our programs in a hybrid model. And that's really exciting because this has kind of been a lifelong dream of mine for Connect4Life. And as far as Connect4Life South Africa, it's very unique, and it's been interesting because the process is a little bit different than it has been in Canada to start an NPO. But we are offering our programs with some partnership schools. They're called special schools in South Africa, our introduction to public speaking, and our ambassador program. But we're still creating awareness because we're only a year old in South Africa. So it's a lot of going to different events and meetings and connecting with people there. And so it's 2 different stages. One is obviously 12 years old and the other is just 1 year old. So it's exciting, but challenging at the same time.
Where did the concept of Connect4Life South Africa come from?
My husband's from Africa. And during the pandemic, I was teaching one of our courses, the broadcasting course online. And he said, "You need to take this to South Africa," and actually laughed. I said, "Who in South Africa will want me to share my ideas?" And he's like, "Do your research. I think that there's a need." Sure enough, I was surprised to find that they have separate schools for individuals with disabilities. They're not integrated like inclusive education here, but also to learn of the lack of resources they have for individuals with disabilities. So I reached out to many people in South Africa, and the Department of Education in Gauteng, which is the province of where we are based in South Africa, reached back out to me, and we had many meetings. And of course, my husband dangled a carrot and said, "If you connect with 10 people, I will take you to South Africa after the pandemic's over." So I connected with 25 people because that's what I do. And he kept his word. And we've been able to go to South Africa for the last couple of years to go and lay the groundwork, as we call it, the foundation, to meet people, to have meetings with people with disabilities, to meet the people on the ground, to actually understand what they're experiencing. They are just so excited to hear and learn from people overseas, but also to see that what we've done with Connect4Life in Canada is a possibility even for South Africa.
What was that introduction when you first landed?
People in South Africa are the most loving, amazing, and accepting people.
Hello, my name is Matthew.
Hi, Matthew. It's nice to meet you. I'm Melanie.
Oh,
Does anyone know where Canada is?
yeah.
That's where I'm from. Becky and I live in Canada. It took us 20 hours by plane to come and see you.
That would be a whole day and a whole night.
It was 3 days.
I was opened with welcomed arms. They set everything up for me. They went out of their way to make sure that I had all of the connections I needed. I was taken to different schools for tours, meetings. They were very, very happy to assist and learn.
What type of trainings do you provide to your educators and staff to help them, cope and also to be at the cutting edge of services?
I think especially what you bring in terms of promoting independence for children, empowering of parents, of teachers to understand and embrace disability as a rich wealth of diverse experience being brought into your classroom, and also giving people a chance to move on into the world of work with greater independence. So thank you. I'm so glad to meet someone like you, Melanie.
The challenge for me at first was the language, because I didn't speak Zulu or Afrikaans or Isisoto, some of the main languages that my team speak. So they're all having a great time trying to teach me the different languages. And it was really interesting to see, even going into the townships or meeting with people in venues that perhaps were unique and different, like the schools. A lot of it is outside because the weather is always so good.
Melanie and Becky, they've bought a nice hut in Africa, and it looks gorgeous, so cool inside.
It's cool.
Very cool inside. And we bought it for only $2. It's got aircon when there's no aircon because of the grass it's made of. We're gonna enjoy, Melanie. We put our furniture in here and stay here. We live in Canada.
We're leaving Canada and come stay here.
Yes.
Okay.
You like your house?
I do.
How about you? Nice house, eh?
That's so sweet of you.
Oh, man. man. That's nice.
I love it. We got to meet Mr. Tapp. Tell us about your meeting, Mr. Tapp.
Mr. Tapp's actually met a couple of my team members first. They had attended an award ceremony in South Africa where his radio station was being recognized for the work they were doing. My team members from the Department of Education were telling them about Connect4Life and about myself. He's like, oh, I would love to meet her. So they connected us. He was just so friendly, and we found we had a lot of similarities. We're both visually impaired, both written a book that had very similar titles, and we both had radio stations for, about, and by people with disabilities, which was so funny. It was like, okay, we're on the other side of the world, but yet we have so much in common. And it's just evolved from there. He's now lead of the ambassador programs for Connect4Life South Africa.
Let's take a few moments to learn from Mr. Tapp himself a little bit about the man.
My name is Doboko Bobi, but I go by Mr. Tapp. Mr. Tapp is a visually impaired male who lost his sight at the tender age of 14 during a soccer match. And since then, everything changed. Everything became advocacy for people with disabilities based on everything that I have personally experienced and encountered through the journey. Let me become an advocate and let me be the voice for persons with disabilities, whereby I'll be the mediator between everything. So if I get a friend or somebody says, hi, I need a school for persons with disabilities or for visually impaired people or wheelchair, I'll then communicate with an organization or someone that I know. And then voila, then a life of a person with a disability has been solved. Hence, as the I Mr. Tapp speaks, I use my voice to communicate and connect persons with disabilities throughout and throughout.
Connect4Life has always taken opportunities to make a difference here in Canada and in South Africa, but maybe we need to understand a little bit more of the environment. What kinds of things are going on in the disability world in Africa?
The parents, firstly, accepting the disability of their children, actually. And I'm saying this particularly in the rural areas. And that's point one. And the second point is that then the parent will say, okay, cool, I have a child with a disability. Where do I take him or her, right? Where do I get assistance? I remember late last year, there was a friend of mine who said, Mr. Tapp, let's go to Northwest, it's another province. There's a 15-year-old child who crawled around the yard and the street. She did not have a wheelchair. So it's either crawling in the yard or they use a wheelbarrow to travel with them from one place to the other. The biggest one is access to education. So, and job opportunities are less, depending on the disability that you may have. Persons with visual impairment, people who are deaf, one of those who are highly affected and impacted by job opportunities within South Africa. You need to communicate. You need to use sign language, or those who use wheelchairs and so forth. It's just the holistic part of disability is still a challenge. There is progress, slow, but there is progress.
During one of her trips to South Africa, Melanie learned more about a critical factor affecting access to education and employment from a teacher at one of the special schools.
The situation that we've got is if you're in a mainstream school and you finish your schooling, you get a national senior certificate, which is standardized, accredited. Mm-hmm. But when our learners leave school with the DCAPS curriculum, the curriculum is not standardized across schools. So the qualification is worth the page it is printed on.
Melanie and Mr. Tapp both have writing in common.
I've authored a book titled How I Lost My Sight and Gained My Vision. This book journeys you through a life of a person with a disability who could basically see before and the challenges of acceptance between that and the beauty of things after accepting your situation as a person with a disability, not only me as an individual who learned how to accept his new life of a person with a disability, but within the community itself, how do you now communicate with a person with a disability? It's a book that once you read that book, you'll never be the same.
It's striking the parallels: writing, broadcasting, advocacy, and yet not all that surprising. Where you see the same barriers, you'll almost always see a similar resolve and belief that compounds quickly.
No one succeeds without effort. Those who succeed owe their success to their own unwavering belief and perseverance, and that of others who believed in them.
Melanie, your new book about Connect4Life could almost be a handbook teaching people about advocacy.
Yeah, it's very different than my other books. So my other books are personal stories, memoirs, things like that, my own lived experiences, whereas this was encouraged for me to do as something for Connect4Life to use as a tool, not just for Connect4Life, but when we go and meet with different members of government or organizations. And it's something for a takeaway for people to learn about advocacy, things that challenges and opportunities that charities face. I really wanted to leave it as a legacy for Connect4Life. This is what we've accomplished over the decade. Henley Point, who was our publisher, they helped so much in the process.
Over the years, there have been so many people who've saw the value in Connect4Life and jumped on board.
My name is Steven Christianson. In one part of my life, I'm the president and chief content officer of a company called Henley Point. And more importantly, for this conversation, I'm a volunteer member of the board of directors for Connect4Life. Henley Point is about 9.5 years old, and we produce podcasts, audiobooks, print books, and we craft advocacy campaigns that we build around these tools. My background is a fusion of public policy and communications. We find it fits nicely into helping others advance a cause and make a difference.
Talk about Steven's relationship with you, the book in that aspect, and Connect4Life.
Steven came to us a couple of years ago with great insight of government relations. And we hadn't been doing a lot of advocacy work with Connect4Life because there just was no time. And also, I'll be honest, there was no know-how. We didn't know how to actually approach it in a way that was going to be impactful. Not only has he helped me connect with MPPs and MPs in Canada, but also helped us become accredited with the United Nations, which is a huge accomplishment. I've always said I wanted to be a part of the United Nations to make an impact on a global stage, but he's helped navigate that. And he's actually been the one to inspire me to do this book.
Melanie and I were at a function in Mississauga last June. On the one hand, we're talking about our pending accreditation to the United Nations, which was very exciting, and we were talking to several people at that evening event about it. On the other, in the car ride home, which was about 20 minutes that evening, I was asking her things like, how'd you choose the colors of the logo? And who designed the logo? And I just find some of that stuff interesting. Like, where'd you come from? That conversation led to both of us identifying the fact that not every charity, small nonprofit organization, especially grassroots, will put out an annual report. What if we did something that told the story, but the product also served as at least a few components of what an annual report or corporate paperwork that's intended for outreach to shareholders and the general public would serve? Well, I'll tell you, I dropped Melanie off that night and she sent me a text and said she's already started on the book. And I think it was the next day that she had a working title. And I don't think that title changed, actually. Connecting Possibilities. It's the story of Connect4Life. So she wrote it. We helped with some structural editing. We helped with some content editing. She had a lot of different people helping with the proofing of it. And our end got into the design and layout. It was a fusion type of a book, a hybrid of a personal story, backstory, part memoir, as well as something that hopefully will fulfill some of the things that a recipient of the book would want to see in your typical corporate literature or annual report. We started taking as much of an out-of-the-box approach as we could.
Steven says the book was thoughtfully designed, from the layout and font to the way it feels in your hands, so it's easier to read, navigate, and use. What a concept. Melanie, Steven's quite a resource and a perfect person to have in your corner.
He's a mentor to me. He's helped guide me and encourage me. I always say he lights fires under me. He kind of sets something and then I'm intrigued and then the seed is planted and then I'm like, I have to run with this. And really, I've learned so much from him. It's been incredible.
Reflecting on all the similarities between Mr. Tapp and Melanie, we certainly can't leave the broadcast component out. So, Mr. Tapp, tell us about the broadcast entity, the national one you're involved with in South Africa.
When I was still learning about disability after losing my sight, I think I was like 3 years at home, not doing anything. During that 3 years of darkness, I realized that I was listening to radio a lot. But during that period, I couldn't hear anything about disability. Nothing. And it's something that I vowed to myself that the moment I get on my feet, I am going to establish the first radio station for and by people with disabilities, whereby people with disabilities will communicate where and how opportunities are available. Fast forward many, many years later, Skills Village Radio now is titled the first radio station in South Africa for and by people with disabilities. We have 90% of persons with disabilities who are presenting all across South Africa. And we actually went live, first time live on air on the 14th of February, right? So we turned 4 years in 2016.
When you talk about team for Connect4Life South Africa, tell us about those guys.
Well, this is about meeting people, connecting with people, and seeing if they have the same vision and understand what you're trying to accomplish. I have several members on my team that used to work for the Department of Education. They've now retired, become part of Connect4Life. And I also have a couple that we just kind of came in contact with through connections. And then also just those connections of meetings in the schools and the government meetings. People just really loved what we're doing and wanted to join the team. So I have board members, I have social media specialists, I have members for the advocacy teams, members that help with the public speaking courses and ambassador programs. It's so great because I can do all my meetings early in the morning in South Africa and do all my meetings in Canada in the afternoon. It works out perfect.
Melanie, in the times you've been to South Africa, tell us about something you got to do that you wouldn't have been able to do here in Canada.
The tour is called Walk with the Lions. They don't walk, they run. So I got to walk with the lions, but I was running. I got to have an engagement with a cheetah where they came up and licked my arm and I petted them. I got to play with the elephants. It's been amazing. Things I would never have thought of doing in my lifetime. I'm at Atula Lodge. I'm here to walk with the lions and pet the cheetahs. I'm really excited. We just heard the lions roaring. A little intimidating, I'll be honest. And then I'll have to say, going to Robben Island to go to Nelson Mandela's jail cell as I was blind, they let me go in and touch everything. That was such a humbling experience to see where he stayed for 27 years of his life for something he believed so passionately about. The music, the culture, and the food. My goodness, just so incredible.
My experience would be run from the lion.
Yeah.
Most positive things you've encountered in your journeys to South Africa?
Definitely the connections with the organizations that working with people with disabilities to understand, and with the special schools. Educators, I'm able to do some training with Connect4Life South Africa for educators working with learners with disabilities because they don't have that specialty. They are trained as educators, but they don't have the specialized training. Connecting with members of different ministries has been an honor.
Melanie's path may have changed, but the purpose never did.
The awesome thing about dreams is that they are fluid and they change as we do. We need to be strong and brave enough to create new expectations. Hold in your heart that you can create your own destiny if you embrace your unique abilities and accept that your dreams can take on different appearances and still manifest, often in a much more meaningful way than you ever thought possible. Be open to the possibilities and don't get in your own way.
The vision for the future is to open a skills development training center. So we have been exploring to find the right land in South Africa in the right location. And I've had so many amazing conversations with community leaders, with churches, with individuals with disabilities. Everything in South Africa is community. And that's the difference, I think, here in Canada. We meet with all the officials. We know what permits we need to get. We talk to the organizations working with us and share the vision and mission. And then you just fill in the forms and get things going, get the money and go. But there you have to have the buy-in of the community.
Where does Connect4Life, Melanie, go from here?
Every day is a new adventure or a new opportunity for both Connect4Life Canada and South Africa. But for me, I think it's important for us to continuously share our stories, whether it's our lived experiences, whether it's on a podcast episode, interviews, writing a book, whatever it is, we're going to continue to tell these success stories of Connect4Life. It all comes down to keeping at it, keeping the mission and vision in line, and raising funds, because that you can't do anything anywhere in the world without the funds to do it. But it doesn't happen overnight. And that's something I've had to really adjust my mindset to. I can be as focused as I want, but if everything doesn't line up, it doesn't happen overnight. We just have to keep at it and get the people to feel the same way. So what comes next? Opportunities for growth.
Connect4Life, you're very good friends with Melanie. It was so nice to hear how Connect4Life is doing and all the expansions that they're up to.
It's a lot of fun, but a lot of work, of course. When Melanie's talking to different people and learning about any place you and I know is fun. Toronto, from working there, living there, in your case, the time I spent there is blessed because you get to meet so many different people, so many different cultures you get introduced to. This way, Melanie is going to South Africa for a long time each visit and really being immersed in the community. That giving you a perspective that you have as an outsider, but you start to blend in. You start to hear the everyday chatter and realize what is going on and get the pulse. But when you're looking at something like disability and you're able to say, hey, I see this back home. Oh, this too. Oh, yeah, we have the same problem back home. It's an asset because people turn and say, well, what do you do back home with it? And you talk about solutions or the roadblocks. And if you're working with people to try to make things better, wow, what a key thing. And also because you're able to spend the time, you understand what will or may not work. And I think that is the blessing here of experience living in Canada, creating a not-for-profit venture like Connect4Life, and taking it somewhere else and seeing how much of the model works.
Absolutely. And you hear how this community went from a one-person personal experience and passion endeavor to expanding, adapting, connecting with people who are unlike yourself, but coming together through a personal attachment, right? Like you're creating a connection through personal experiences that are not necessarily the same hobby or the same kind of thing, but just an interest to help one another. And then you can see that expanding, like I said in my intro, across borders. So being able to kind of bring what you want and bring your passion and bring your abilities and your expertise and skills to the table to help the bigger cause. And it's just like a wonderful reminder of how communities are built from scratch. Because a lot of times you can just join a community that exists, but to build something from scratch is very different. And I really appreciate having dissected that through the story of Connect4Life.
There's a far cry of difference of what do people know in small town Ontario or Saskatchewan versus somebody that might live in Regina or in Vancouver, where they may get to see a tech show once in a while geared to disability, or have a school system that has the funds to be able to make sure that those supports are in place and government support to do so. That's what they're trying to get here. They're trying to make sure not just the government, the churches, everybody, the school boards, everybody understands that, knows that. But what about Joe Smith in rural town, South Africa? That is key because that's where, as Mr. Tapp said, some of the problems are, some of the ignorance. And we've all run into it. You know, let's be fair. Disability around the world, every culture handles it in a different way, recognizing it or not, or including people or not. And we are here in Canada where we see that diversity. We have people who say, well, no, I don't know a lot about disability in my country. Well, hey, this is what we're doing here. As other countries who do it better than us, but so, well, what the heck, Canada? Why are you not doing that? But to hear him reflect on his past at 14 years old, what he got into, the radio, all that interest, and now having the show, national show, speaking to people from the disability community, running into Melanie and their teams getting together with that cause, that's powerful.
This Reflections episode is called Connecting Communities, the Broadening of Connect4Life as they venture abroad, by senior feature reporter Kelly McDonald. Producers Kelly McDonald, Rami Hamathan, post-production and Reflections senior producer Matt Agnew. The manager of AMI Audio is Andy Frank. I'm Jacob Charmansky.
You have been listening to Connect4Life, the podcast. Connect4Life is a Canadian-based registered charity committed to eliminating barriers for people with disabilities. Visit connect4life.ca and join us in helping people with disabilities become the champions of their growth stories.